Oh wait,
we can't both. So this air freshener, it's good, huh?
Well, I forget how the lines go. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, this Sophia bitch, she's crazy.
I think is that Pacific Ocean? What's the scent? Yeah, that's Sophia girl's fucking baddie, right?
You ain't wrong, kid. That's it. That's enough.
Yeah, we should be done with this.
We're back. Here again. Thank you for clicking the video. Today, we're going to get right into it. We're talking about the Penguin. Episode 1. We're going to try to... we got to catch up a little bit, but we're going to try weekly each episode. I wouldn't say necessarily a review. I wouldn't say necessarily a breakdown.
Just talking.
We're just discussing it.
You know what I mean? This is a mini series out on HBO right now.
Max.
Max.
So right out the gate, I think it's a little bit... Me personally, besides being a fan of the Batman movie, I was a little skeptical. Kind of, to me, this is very similar to like Andor, in a sense, where like I don't think right out the gate there's a lot of intrigue. This is preconceptions before watching the show, but a spin-off show about the Penguin who had a very minor role in the Batman movie, and it was kind of like, how good is this going to be? Is this going to be a cash grab? Is this going to be a filler until, Batman 2 or whatever? Right out the gate, watching the first episode, I don't want to, throw fireworks in the air and say it blew me away, but it was very impressive.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said minor role. I agree with that. It was definitely, I think, as you'd write it down or explain it, was a minor role. Did you hear anything about his role in the Batman movie that, like, gives a reason as to why they thought there was a chance here? I'm not behind the scenes like that enough to really pay attention, but obviously he had a good performance. It was kind of a comedic point in the movie, so they knew they had to switch up the game plan. It wasn't just going to be a comedic Penguin for a series, but I think to see some eyes.
For the dynamic of the movie, I think he is a little bit of the
comic relief.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Which I do think, with the tone that they're going, which I find to be in the same vein, but a little bit more mature and severe, or there's bigger, deeper consequences, I feel, in this show. Really pushing like a R rating. There's nudity, there's cursing, there's all this stuff, which I really like, and I feel that it's necessary for this show and to build intrigue about it, to where
that first shows the characteristics of Gotham.
Absolutely.
It gives us that in-depth on the street. Like, this might be kind of ironic or too artsy, whatever, but when you're watching the Batman, or anytime you're reading about the Batman, he's an overseer of the city. He's never on the street in the nitty-gritty for long periods of time. So now you get to really see how that works and see it from the other perspective in a better way than I think comics or anything else has been able to show so far.
Yeah, kind of the day-to-day for an average Joe, I would, besides criminal shit. But I think really it's just a great opportunity for both Gotham and the Penguin character that they've built, to where from first seeing the movie, I really, really enjoyed and was kind of in awe of Matt Reeves' Gotham that he was able to build. It had so much character. It felt like it really just kind of fell off the screen to you and immersive. What I mean? And seeing the behind the scenes, how hard they went in getting the design and the feel for the city. I am very pleased that it has its little tinges where it feels like it's stepping away from the grand Gothic skyscrapers, but like you're saying, you're seeing kind of the other side of the coin of Gotham and its underbelly, and you see its certain neighborhoods and certain stuff where it's not just perched up on a rooftop. Or so I'm really happy, and I really like how much Gotham is a character in itself, and it does feel with a slight tinge of its own vibe, I guess, for lack of a better term. but not completely a rip-off just of the Batman. You can tell it takes place in the same vicinity, but it has its own kind of flavor to it, which I appreciate. And I think a lot of it has to do with being willing to leave the city, seeing outside neighborhoods, some of the ritzier houses with the mob families.
Yeah, that shows up later on in the episode, or maybe even in episode 2, I can't remember. But what we were just talking about, that nitty gritty on the street, is, I mean, it's present from the beginning of the episode. You really get right into it. Great opening sequence as far as I'm concerned for a series. Keeps you hooked. Good performances on both sides. And I think like that character development right away, pushes the reader or the watcher to stay invested and see like, how's he going to change again? How is he going to figure this situation out?
Well, even what they like world building, what they're able to set up, it basically picks right up off of the Batman. So Gotham is flooded and kind of in the aftermath of Riddler's attack. And you do, just from a quick, I think, like news collage, you do already set up and feel that there's this power grab in the city, and that there is a changing of the guard on who runs shit now with Big Boss Falcone out of the picture. And then you have Alberto Falcone introduced, son of Carmine. I think that's his name, Carmine Falcone.
That was played by Michael Zegan, I think is how we pronounce that. We were talking about that earlier, his role in Walking Dead.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was the dude in the shed that Shane killed.
Yeah, when I saw that, it clicked in my brain. I was like, oh, that's why I think I like that guy. Good performances both ways. Short so far. He's only in, the
opening scene.
And then no dialogue scene later on. But I hope to see more from him. I think that there's potential to keep him up in the backstory of the series. And
yeah, I think separate from the dreams and hallucinations, I'm sure that there will be flashbacks.
I mean, I keep trying to say integral, but I'm not good with words. But
no, I get you. That's what I really like about it. Is literally from the first 10 minutes of the show, you're dealing with all the repercussions of one action, really, of one in the moment spurt. Really just acting on instinct, as his mom would say, or whatever. But kind of an emotional outburst from Colin Farrell's Penguin.
Exactly.
That snowballs the whole story and the whole show, and you're just dealing with that, which what I would assume for is the whole season.
Yeah, I think the writer Lauren LaFranc, she talks about that in some of the back end stuff.
But following right after killing of Alberto, cut to him trying to dump the body in the car, and a bunch of kids are jacking the car. And this is kind of the introduction to Victor, who's played by Renzi Feliz. Apologies if I fucked it up.
Oh, Renzi.
I thought it was his debut. Looks like a bunch of minor roles. Teen Wolf, voice work, Marvel Runaways.
Yeah. I don't necessarily recognize him from anything in particular. Strong performance.
I think it's very subtle, and obviously with 2 episodes under our belt, I have no doubt there's going to be more to see and more for him to work with as an actor, where a lot of it has been super subtle, minor interactions, to where he is, as the dynamic is, he's really at the whim of Oswald.
Yeah, he's a second-hand man. Not what I think we'll start to see, or what you could see as character development, is him starting to have to make decisions on his own. That was a part of this last episode, him working for Oz and some of the hardships he'll go through. But I would like to see a big dynamic switch up from him. I like his character now. I think it could get a little bit repetitive if it stayed the same, but if he's really pushed to a wire or a limit, I think it'd be really cool to see what
I'm hoping is really kind of to show you his motivation, to where right now it's all just kind of inferred with the flooding of his neighborhood and stuff like that, to where you get the feeling that he really has nothing left for him back home, and he basically is given a choice, either be useful to Oswald or join Alberto in the grave, really, which I do think is kind of life, putting a path in front of him right there to say, are you going to be nobody or are you going to be somebody? A jury's out how that's going to play by the end of it, but I do hope to see something that really puts it, at least for me, up front about why he's in this, other than the fear of death. I would like to see something of that drive that he kind of talks about.
Yeah.
He wants it, when part of it, at least just from what they've shown, it feels he's saying that to keep his head. You know what I mean? Rather than he really does have that thirst and that want for the power and the money and everything. I
wouldn't mind to find, the soft spot in their relationship. It'd be short to show that growth over time, but however meaningful it is, that mentor pupil situation going on,
which I do like.
Part of it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think it's able to show all the different facets of Colin Farrell's Penguin or Oz Cobb or whatever they call him.
A big part of that from the get. I believe the director or the writer creator I believe talked about the relationship there, where they're both people with disabilities, or maybe they see something in each other and connect in that kind of way. I wanted to make a small point, again bringing that back into Colin Farrell's performance, where I think he does a great job of showing that disability.
Yeah,
I don't know
the physicality of the role.
I saw one thing, I can't remember if this was after an episode thing, but I believe it was on my social media, of him talking about subtle details where, after a long day versus beginning shots. And so I think that's cool as an actor to make sure to think about those things and apply them, because it does show little details like that.
Not just to jump around a bit, but coming back, I don't think we really gave Colin Farrell his flowers. I do think he's incredibly enigmatic in this show. I think when he's on screen, it's very hard to look away from him, just because of how captivating it is. One, because of the practical makeup. Credits to Michael Marino.
Exactly. He's got work down in Wolf of Wall Street, Men in Black. I definitely need to give him a shout out. I forget that it's Colin Farrell under there.
Yeah. Which again, I think helps with the Batman movie, to where one of the criticisms I side with is really, besides adding a big name to the cast, what really is the point of taking Colin Farrell and burying him under all this makeup if he has a collective 5-10 minutes of screen time in the movie? It does feel like a little wasted. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. To where it's like, why not just hire a guy that looks like Tony Soprano or whatever you're going for? You know what I mean? If you're looking for a bigger, balding, menacing dude, hire somebody like that. To where I do think a show like this really gives Colin Farrell an opportunity to transform and really flesh out this character, who I think otherwise would kind of be more of a footnote in the universe. And now he does, even just from these couple of episodes, really does feel like a staple in the entire cast of this Batman universe that Matt Reeves is building. And I'm really excited to see how that ramps up into the sequels of the Batman movie. Going into Sophia, I think just her introduction was pretty goddamn perfect. Kristen Milioti. I'm bad with names. She's
under the gun actress for me. Once I see the IMDb page, things click for me. She's got a long list of stuff there. I was surprised at her voice acting. She's hit 3 big markers there. The Simpsons, Bob Burgers, Family Guy. She's in How I Met Your Mother. That's a throwback to you, my dude.
That's what I knew her from originally, because she is the mother. She's
the true. Okay, she ends up being the true.
And she has a pretty short role. Okay. That's pretty much like the last season.
Wolf of Wall Street. She plays his original wife. Yes,
correct? Yeah, the good wife, pretty much. I mean,
the one that he fucks over.
Respect to Mommy Margot, but. The actual genuine wife.
But no, she's playing Sophia. She's done a good job so far. I haven't had any complaints. This is weird. We might cut this, whatever. I'm 50-50 on that eating scene. I don't have any real marks against it, again, I'm a bandwagon guy. I'm mad. This is what it was. I'll admit I saw one clip where somebody was like, she based her character off, it's the eating scene where she's, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she based this off of such and such character in whatever, where I'm just like,
which,
guys,
are you talking about the first episode or when people are talking about her in the second episode?
the first episode.
Okay.
To where, again, you bring that up, that's a good point. It reoccurring establishes it. In the first episode, I thought it was going to be like a one and done, which I was like, that was kind of weird and not necessary. And then when I saw the thing, I just hate fans.
Yeah.
I hate us. You know what I mean?
Did you know?
Yeah, that she actually did this on purpose, and it's like, clearly she did this on purpose.
I do appreciate her performance. I mean, obviously there's so much more to see, 6 episodes to go. But she is bringing an intensity to the role that I think is like, I would just relate it to a thin wire that you can pluck on it and you can feel the tension to it, but it's still subtle. It's still kind of under the veil of ice.
I mean, from her intro, that's what it was. It's just that ice. You explained it perfectly well. It's just tension. That's what she brings to the screen.
And you're waiting for it to just snap. And you like, even with the end of the first episode, you see little tinges of it, you know, where she sees her brother out of the trunk and stuff. I really would like to see her kind of push to the breaking point. And I like what they're setting up to where the family isn't exactly confident in her, along with society as well. The whole hangman,
which opens up that opportunity for Oz.
Yes,
to get in there and see that and manipulate her in a way that hopefully works for him, which he's
absolutely
done successfully so far.
I do think, I would say as a villain, I think she's kind of the perfect foil to Oz, to where, while you could argue they're both spontaneous, I think Oz is very, wants to lay out a path and a plan and wants to set up road markers of how this is going to go. If this, then that type of, programming in a sense, to where you do get that wild card feeling from her, to where she's just here to kind of disrupt any and all markers in the road and really fuck his plans up. I think that's really going to be interesting to watch.
They're both as smart as each other. I think that was something that was established right away. They both respect each other in that backhanded kind of way where they're side-eyeing each other, and I love those. I
think that's the biggest thing, is they don't underestimate each other, which is what, with the characterization of Oz, is that's what he feeds off of. As he says it himself, by making himself the little man, he's able to find that wiggle room and be the unexpected victor, to where I really think she's not going to let him get that leg room up. She knows he can be slimy. She knows he can lie and all this stuff, to where I think it's just going to, again, that tension string of how far they're going to be able to be in alliance or to be against each other. I think it all is dependent on little discoveries. I think all of that stuff is one secret away from being slipped out under him.
One thing can go wrong. Her personality is that wiry, manic, out of nowhere, that we start to see her background in the series, in this episode. She's our link. She's our intro to Arkham Asylum, so you get to see clips of that.
There was a mention in the movie about the whole thing with Bruce Wayne's reveal is that his mom is in Arkham. She was part of the Arkham family, and she had history of being put there herself. But as far as Arkham Asylum, I really do, and you see a little bit of Blackgate, I believe, with Maroni. We'll get to that later. Her being that avenue, like he's saying, into Arkham Asylum is interesting. Again, it's more, I think the vibe of the show is so wrapped up in its own politics and everything that it is easy to forget that it takes place in the Reeves verse without just having Robert Pattinson show up in costume, which I think it would be cheap. We can get into later about predictions and blah, blah, blah. But moving on, we get more backstory to the Penguin and kind of his parental figures and how he grew up with Mama.
Soft spot of the series. Sorry to cut you off or whatever. She's, I think she's what's grounding Oz as of right now. I'm expecting that when we see a big event in the series, it's going to have to do with her. But from the get, you saw heartstrings are getting plucked from Mama Maroney.
Yeah.
So hearts out to her. Hopefully she ends up all right.
The only thing I wanted to talk about with her was the implications of she's a very integral part of how Oz grew up and the hunger that he has and the drive that he has. And really in the first episode, she is the reason that he sticks around. Because the whole reason he went to the house was to dip out and get her out of town.
He was tucking his tail and he was dipping.
Exactly, and she didn't let that happen. Which again is more complex for her. I think it adds to her character, and it's not just letting her be basically a damsel in distress for him. You know what I mean? I think now that's an accessory to it, to where I'm not trying to get all predicty, but I think it adds to the tragedy if something were to happen, is that she plays an equal part in producing. Exactly, in progressing this influence. Or
that was something I was going to say, is that you can almost, and that's part of the character, whatever, but she's not a good mom.
Yes.
In any sense of the word. But for her to push that drive into him is probably the most beneficial thing for the series, but not for him as a person.
Yes.
To refer back to that opening scene where Falcone is shot, and that's our breakaway into it. It starts off with a monologue from Colin about the gangster he looked up to.
I forget his name.
I think it's it's a cool thing to see that's what he was looking for, is this humble respect, and then that drive to be respected is more hers, you know what I mean? I think she wants to see him on top, and that makes him want to provide for her, give her dream, but it's not necessarily his.
Well, and I think, like the writer was saying, I think deeply, like you're alluding to it started out as validation from his mom. He wanted her to feel that she did create a son that commanded power and had prevalence in this community, and unfortunately the community is crime ridden, but there is a hierarchy there is power there, and I do think that got mixed up in his brain, and that is the way for, like the writer says, to get that I love you from his mom is by pursuing this, and not backing away and not showing any weakness, that she really is all just going to get him further from what he really wants. Just real quick, I forget his fucking name. He's the dude who voices Mr. Krabs, but he's Maroney. He's the dude in the prison that he goes and talks to, the rival gang. Clancy Brown. He's OG. He does quite a few villain roles.
He's got a very nice voice. You think I don't know what you're up to, Oz?
I will say, compared to Sophia, I don't think he's just another element to add to the fucking pot. You know what I mean? And narratively, he is providing Penguin kind of a way out of taking the blame of Alberto. And I do like the dynamic where it's not exactly totally Penguin just getting one up on him. Maroney is very aware that Penguin wants a scapegoat, and it's Penguin's way of spinning it and trying to make it worth Maroney's time and appeal to him that does it, and that actually pushes him to be willing to take the fall.
You get to see some of the chess work of Oz and the insides and outs of Gotham, and just these names and how much they mean, how much the gossip is, and I don't know how true. I think that's more true to life back in the day, but it's always good for these family power dynamics to pin two people against each other. And watch them fight while you get
exactly these age-old feuds.
Exactly.
And you kind of, especially with the Maroneys, they're as I believe it's shown, is they're kind of beaten down at this point. They're not what they were. And the Falcone crime family was able to kind of usurp them in a way. Penguin using that and really providing an opportunity for them to jab back and get back into the fight, despite not really being the key player exactly, is just really nice, and it's a good way to subvert it without it totally being Oswald is some master manipulator, exactly, where he kind of like they say in the show, slimes around. You know what I mean? He's kind of
he's just getting away with stuff.
Exactly.
Which leads into these great parts of the show where, of course, when you're trying to get away with stuff as much as you are, you're gonna get caught. Of course, there's the delivery scene. I think that's in the first one, right?
Delivery. Talking about the body in the trunk.
Oz, you're in the trunk. Shit. Okay. We'll be right back. And we're back. So there's plenty of parts where he's getting caught or his plans don't work. I think that leads into the climax of that first episode. In fact, where he does find himself in a situation where his back is literally to the wall. He has to make those split decisions. He's willing to do things that we wouldn't. That's why he's still a villain, you know what I mean? An innocent life that he knows is innocent is on the line, and he decides to save himself in that instance. Seconds after that, he's saved by his plan working.
In general, I think the show really is at its best when you do see the quick thinking and the off the spot saves really that Oswald is able to come up with, and I think that's just the most intriguing part of the show is really just, I think they're very well right in the first 10 minutes of each episode. So, I mean, 2 so far that we've seen, but to kind of set you up and get the audience ready for, okay, this is how it's going to go. And then the second you think you got it, something comes along to totally kind of railroad you off. And then as the audience, you're kind of left wondering how the fuck is he going to get out of this? And that's what Oswald does. That's what he's prepared for this whole time, is really to be quick and to be on his feet, thinking all the time. And it pans out for him, at least so far. He is full on the prime suspect for Sophia. They go tail him. The little chase scene, because they're waiting at the apartment, goes into, it looks like Chinatown type of thing. Again, it doesn't exactly work out for him, but quick thinking and subverting the audience. They catch up to him. They find the car with the door open. There's a crowd of people. They chase after, and then he pops out of the trunk. It's all these little character moments that you really get a feel for what he's willing to do.
His wisdom.
Exactly. And kind of, again, being the little man. You know what I mean? I think you could argue that there's somebody like Carmine Falcone is not going to hide in a trunk to get away from his enemies. He's going to face them head on.
Willing to do.
And Carmine is dead. It's the writers being able to show that the slimy and kind of
a little bit lucky.
Exactly. It's this behavior that is getting him further in this game, and willing to be. I'm losing words right now, but basically emasculated in a sense. Where
looked over. He's got a chip on his shoulder, but he's so used to not being at the head of the table, at least right now in the series, that's what's working for him, is that people think that spitting on him will get this this outlash, which ironically is what got him into the situation in the first place. I don't know.
This show has really great potential to captivate a few different markets, to where already you have your invested audience who are fans of the Batman and want to check this out. But it's also, it's not guys running around in tights. It's very much a crime drama with a mature tone to it as well. It's not trying to hit that PG-13 at all. So it can be violent, it can be vulgar, which I do think, just at least for me or whatever, something like, say, my dad, for example.
That was, I'm sorry to cut you off. That was a point I was going to bring up about the current director of these first 3 episodes, Craig Zobel. That's why I wrote Darkers. I don't know much about him. I just looked at his IMDb page, and just from
is that a Netflix show, Darker?
No, it probably is, but I wrote Darker because just from the posters of all of his things, everything seemed that dark. Like I think one of the newer ones was The Hunt, and the poster is like a pig and black and grays, and just a creepy horror vibe. So I think he was a good pick for this because he can bring that.
That side of the underbelly to it. And again, that's what I think it just is able. Really, it's at a good advantage to hit a market where it doesn't have to pander exactly, and it can be vulgar or whatever. I'm not going to totally repeat myself.
Anybody can watch this. That's
exactly.
I mean, you don't have to know anything about any of these characters. I don't know anything about most of these characters. I'm horrible with names, guys. So I'll remember Oz, but fucking half these characters, I'm not going to remember their names. I'm not going to know who they're connected to, but I'm still invested. That's probably not true. I'll know who they're connected to. But, like, again, you don't need to be a comic book fan. You don't need to be a Batman fan. You could pick this up and have no idea what you're watching from the beginning, and I think you'll enjoy it and get interested in it genuinely. Well,
and I think, like, exactly to your point, I think in all reality, you don't need to see the Batman. You could just come into this fresh. The first 10 minutes show you everything that you need to know about Gotham and in the state of the city and everything and the power dynamic. And all the rest is more for fans to be, hey, I know that guy.
Yeah.
I know the Maronis. I know the Falcones. I know, what I mean? And
I think that's exactly what it should be.
Exactly.
That's what they should shoot for as far as fan service and things of those natures. Subtlety is key, not too flashy. That's what we were talking about with bringing Batman.
I was just gonna say Robert Pattinson. I do agree that I think it would kind of cheapen the show if the last scene is Robert Pattinson coming out of the shadows. I think, well, I'm a fucking fanboy or whatever. I'm not going to totally get mad at it, but I think the best course of action, if anything, is to have a news reporter talk about Bruce Wayne, or to I think I've talked to you about putting the bat signal in the air. Or again, subtlety is your best weapon in this case, because all of that again is going to kind of break the immersion of it.
The reality that you've created so far, which is a good reality, a strong reality,
and again, kind of mess with those consequences where you don't. It would take away from the narrative if immediately every episode is them worrying about a caped crusader fucking up their drug deals and stuff, where you're able to get this real taste of, I don't want to say real life because it's obviously very hyperbolic.
You got any predictions? Let's go with predictions. Anything that you want to see, think you'll see, any rapid fire thoughts that you're like, I need to see?
Just predictions for the show. I would say I think Mama's gonna go.
Definitely.
I think she's the weakest link for Oz. She's the closest to his heart, I guess.
Him and his girl.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Mama's 100% gone. I think she's gonna be the one that gets saved. That'd be my assumption. Is that if
maybe,
hopefully, I don't know.
This is more wishful thinking, but I could see it being pretty ruthless. To where I don't think it's all going to happen in one episode, but I could see it chipping away to where through, again, kind of as I was alluding to with discoveries, just flash forwarding it here, we'll talk about it with episode 2. They've painted it out that his mom is a secret, and that he's not trying to reveal that. So I think
she has some mental issues going on,
which is probably going to play into her exposing herself.
Exactly. Let's put it this way, guys. She got 2 episodes left. If she got more than 2 episodes left, I'm gonna be surprised.
And again, I think a lot of that is going to be dependent on Sophia. I think because she is going to be the main antagonist, as far as I understand. I wouldn't be surprised though if him in any way getting higher up the Falcone chain pisses off Maronis. That's probably going to come into play.
I think a small detail that, again, this is just a whim of something they could do. I think they try to intro that Victor, he's a young man, so he's looking for love. He had a small connection with one of the ladies that works under Oz's girls, so I wouldn't be surprised that that's going to come into play where he has to make a decision, and Oz clearly knows what that decision needs to be made. And I want to see his character develop, so I think that'll be a point where he has to turn to the dark side, or it's himself.
And I do think too, more on predictions, I do think Victor is going to lash out in some sort of way. I don't know. I think there's only so much of him being subservient that can keep going on, because Oz is basically just using him. You know what I mean? He had him drive the car, and I think there's only so many you're doing goods that is going to keep him in the game, especially if he's not seeing the returns that he wants.
He's dangling a carrot, and at some point you got to give it to him.
So I was telling him, I'm calling it now, people. My big fan theory for what's going to happen is you have this dynamic to where Oz sees something in Victor. I do think at a cost of the power is that in some sort of way, Oz is going to have to choose to basically take out Victor. I think my prediction is that somehow Victor is going to be in the way of Oz's ascension, and that he's going to have to be on the chopping block, and it's a choice for the Penguin to whether it's the sentiment and, in a way, the poetic thing of killing himself. If he sees himself in Victor, that this is going to come to fruition, and it's really going to be his selfishness and his own ambitions and desire against any sentiments he's built with this character throughout the season. That's my big prediction.
I think you're wrong, but it's all good. There's no way. My prediction would be for Victor, I think they've opened up with his complete innocence. I don't think, again, I could be wrong, I don't think they're willing to have Oz go that deep into the villain role. I think they're too scared of it. I'm assuming his most villainous aspects of Oz are going to be at the death of his mama and his girl, and I think that they might come to head, but I don't think that they're willing to let him take him out. Or this is what I'm going to say, if anything, he's going to have to watch him die, and it's going to be like that was my fault, I got another person involved or something.
But that's more so what I mean. I don't necessarily think pulling the trigger.
Okay,
but
that's fair.
I'm seeing more kind of like Ozark in a sense.
Yeah.
To where it's like his back is against the wall.
I see what you're saying now.
And it's either risk everything to save him or let him go, and I'm gonna be cool, and I'm getting what I want.
Yeah.
Other predictions.
I like that for a finale.
I think Sophia is standing in that way. As I imagine and as I've heard how this leads up to the Batman 2, I do think Oz is going to be on top. I do think that's how it's going to end.
Spoiler. He reads Reddits.
No, this is all theories.
Block it out of your ears. Now we have to put a spoiler alert because you got the inside track.
This is already spoiler. We're talking about people dying.
You're talking about Batman 2.
I don't know anything about Batman 2.
This is going to be... I don't know. We're not going to have an official... we're not going to have an official system here as far as ratings, anything like that. I'm going to let my homeboy give his final spiel on the episode. I thought it was... Again, I wanted to bring this back to... This is episode 1 of The Penguin. I thought it was great. Good intro. As far as from where I was when I had only seen that, brought me to the next one perfectly. Keeping my interest, got me hooked. I'm excited for more.
I'm pretty much the same. I think this show has incredible potential. 3 episodes out right now. I've only seen 2 of them, and I really, really like what I'm seeing so far. So it's got me hooked. I'm really invested. I do think, as far as I understand, it is going to be a limited series. I don't think they're going to be doing season 2, which boosts my confidence even more. For them to kind of leave nothing on the table and to set it all up and to leave it out there.
It raises the stakes as well. Because I'm going to say this to all the viewers out there, which is nobody. We won't hold back either. As soon as this turns to shit, we're going to let you know. But right now, no problems whatsoever.
No, and again, if they keep up the pace what they're doing, like I said, I think the best parts of the show are when Penguin is figuring out how to get out of a hole. So if they can keep ramping up the stakes and build the intensity and make it feel rewarding once he gets out of the hole, I think it's going to be a great series. And I think all it's going to do is really solidify this new series in my head of the Batman verse that Matt Reeves is creating. And all respect to was it Lauren LeBlanc?
LaFlanc?
LaFranc.
I knew it had an F in there. But yeah, no, she's doing. I was about to say she's doing great. So demeaning, like I'm somebody. No, I don't know the name. I don't know many writer or directors' names. But it's one that I'll add to the list. I really like what I'm seeing. I know she's got a team under her. Of course, I don't want to not shout out people that we share or anything, but there's other writers involved and everything. Is good.
I wanted to make the distinction and not totally put everything on Matt Reeves.
Exactly.
As far as he's pioneering whatever. He's got his own movies that he's very integral to, and I think he's doing more of an oversight.
As far as what I know, it's Craig Zobel and Lauren LaFranc right now running the shows. Again, I don't know how much he'll be directing throughout the series, but hats off to both of them. Got anything else off the top of your dome?
No, I was just gonna say I think it's great. If you guys are interested in seeing more, we're planning on doing more episode breakdown review, whatever you want to call this.
Thank you guys for watching.
Indeed,
we're gonna keep this going. Click back, check it out for episode 2 of The Penguin, a little breakdown review / we're just talking. Peace out, y'all.